This is WCM's Park Update, a weekly show covering the outdoor hospitality industry, hosted by Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. During each episode, you'll hear from special guests and campground experts on topics that will help your park flourish. WCM's Park Update is a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine.
Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground Magazine, and welcome back to another episode of WCM's Park Update, sponsored by Bush Tech Safari USA. My esteemed co-host Mike Gast is here, former Vice President of Communications at Campgrounds of America. And then, of course, our guest is Monika Geraci. I knew I was going to screw it up. Spokesperson for the RV Industry Association. And Monika, I know I've spoken to you on an early iteration of the show that we used to do, and it's great to see you in person, I guess, through the computer, and just to see you again. I guess you guys were in Washington, D.C. last week. Let's just start off with that. So the RV Industry Association was in Washington, D.C. last week. You guys had a big week of advocacy and planning out the future of what you guys are going to be focused on. Just kind of explain a little bit about what you guys were doing and how that impacted the RV industry, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me back on. I'm really happy to be here. So yes, last week was RVs Move America Week. We had about nearly 250 people from across the RV industry come into DC. And the first half of the week is really focused on setting the future of the association. So we had, I think it was 17 or 18 different committees meet, everything from the GO RVing Coalition, the Standard Steering Committee, our Public and Legislative Committee, the PR Committee. So all of these committees meet and set the direction of the association because our association is member driven. So these are really awesome opportunities for people to come in and share feedback, share ideas, and set that direction of the organization. And then we switch over on Tuesday afternoon, we switch our focus to advocacy. And then the team gets all of the advocates, which we had over 120 people from across the industry, go onto Capitol Hill on Wednesday to talk about our policy priorities. And those this year were the passage of the America's Outdoor Recreation Act, which will get more people outdoors, improve access to our federal lands. It was a floor plan tax issue to help. There's an unfair tax provision that it was really an error. And so it's going to bring some relief to our dealer partners. And then we talked about the Farm Bill, getting some outdoor recreation priorities in that. And then the generalized system of preference. And so getting some relief for our industry on that trade issue as well. So we have all of these issues, and then also just meeting the members of Congress and talking about the impact that our industry has, $140 billion industry. So it's a really fantastic week. A lot of people come in, do the networking and being back in person. This is only our second year back post-COVID. So set the direction of the association and then set the direction of our policy initiative. So it's hands down one of my favorite weeks of the year.
Yeah, it was always my favorite too, Monika. I was a longtime member of the PR committee and the GO RVing Coalition. But it's been a couple of years since I've been there. What's changed in the last couple of years with GO RVing Coalition, for instance? Has the direction changed at all?
So the coalition is still there are some changes that are coming to the GO RVing Coalition that were talked about last week, and those will be rolling out in the coming months. Really getting focused on, there are a lot more marketers in our industry than there were when GO RVing was founded. So really harnessing the power of the incredible marketers from across the industry and making sure that GO RVing continues to make that impact and bring new people into the funnel, and not only bring the awareness and bring new people into our industry, but also that retention and making sure that we're providing the tools in coordination with our members to keep people in our industry as well.
So when the sales were so high the last couple of years, was marketing still? Did you still have your foot in the gas for marketing and PR? Or was it a time that a lot of dealers and manufacturers kind of took their foot off the gas?
So Go RVing in particular has an always on strategy for social, because want to make sure that if people are looking for information or are those audiences that are interested in RVing, that we're getting in front of them. So even at the height of demand, when really there wasn't a lot of product for people, we weren't, to use your words, it wasn't foot way down on the gas pedal, because we didn't want to be encouraging people to go to dealerships if there wasn't a lot of product, but at the same time, keeping the awareness there, because RVing was on, especially on the PR side, was really a high level of awareness there. So we wanted to make sure that Go RVing on the advertising side was coordinating with that, but it was not pedal to the floor during the height of demand.
I know Go RVing works a lot with dealers. We represent the RV park, campgrounds, glamping parks to some degree on this show. I guess, what's that relationship look like for Go RVing as far as between, the RV industry and the parks and the campgrounds, I guess?
Yeah, so a couple things there. So obviously, Go RVing is a partnership between the RV Industry Association and the RV Dealers Association. It's run by both organizations. The board and the coalition is made up from members from both organizations. RVIC, the Campground Association, is also part of those conversations, and we have worked very closely with them. Their campground database is what, if you're going to go to GoRVing.com and do find a campground, that information is all pulled from RVIC's system. Okay. And then on a wider, if we take a step back and look at the RV Industry Association as a whole and our relationship with the campgrounds, that's an area our president and CEO, Craig Kirby, has really focused on. If you've heard him talk on anything, industry unity is one of his number one priorities. We are better when we're working together across the industry. The industry is three-legged stool. We've got the manufacturers, suppliers, people who build the RVs. We've got the dealers who are selling and servicing them. And then the campgrounds is a really critical part of our industry. And having the unity there is so important. So over the past few years, at least, we've been working a lot closer with the campgrounds, both RVIC and big campground associations and groups, to make sure that we're in alignment on policy issues, on customer service, all of that. So I would say we are working a lot closer to the campground industry over the past few years.
Yeah. And I know that's something we heard from Campgrounds of America President Toby O'Rourke at the Power Breakfast this year was, how everybody kind of plays together in this ecosystem and we all kind of feed off each other. So it's definitely important to have that unity and that connection between all the industries. So, I guess, just kind of refocusing a little bit onto the shipment reports. Things have been down a little bit this year in the RV industry, but you guys are predicting that things will kind of improve, I guess, through later this year and into next year, I guess, on the manufacturing side.
Yeah. So obviously we're coming off of super record highs. 2021, over 600,000 RVs were shipped, which is production. To put that in context, the previous high was 500,000. So it was a lot of RVs were built that year. And even in 2022, last year, it was nearly 500,000. It was our third best year ever. So over 1.5 million RVs were built over the last 3 years. So there's a lot of RVs that have been out there and produced. And our manufacturers ramped up that production to meet that incredible demand that we had been seeing. There's still demand out there. Unfortunately, we don't have control over the wider economy and rising interest rates, rising inflation that really takes a bite out of people's confidence to make large discretionary purchases. So what we're seeing is that those are really the headwinds that we are facing. Our latest shipment forecast came out last week. Maybe the week before. And it's showing that we're going to be around the 300,000 range for 2023. And then for 2024, we are looking to be to increase over that. So what we're seeing is that people are going to, that inflation, interest rates should level off, and that people should be more comfortable with those levels of both inflation and interest rates, and that demand is going to come back. And I should correct myself a little bit there, because it's not really a demand issue. We did a survey middle of last month, and it showed that 32% of leisure travelers say they plan to buy an RV in the next year. They're not going to, 32% of all leisure travelers aren't buying an RV in the next year. But that shows that demand, and that people aspire and they want to buy RVs. But the economic situation isn't necessarily our friend currently.
And you guys aren't just like, you and Craig Kirby don't just create these numbers out of thin air either. You guys have you guys work with ITR Economics to compile the data, and you do your own surveys and stuff, right?
Absolutely. So ITR Economics, they've been doing our forecasting since I think 2020. So I think we're going on 3 years with them. So that's done in partnership with our market information committee. So ITR does forecasting for a bunch of different industries. They are a very prominent economics firm. So yes, they're the ones who put out the forecast, and so that's where it is third party. It's not, as you said, Craig and I back of the napkin math. That's not what's going into these shipments forecasts. And similarly, we work Scott Barr from Karen Consulting. So familiar, does such great, does the KOA campers report and all of that. We do a lot of our surveys with him, and he's phenomenal at those.
So a lot of these new RVs that were purchased in 21 and 22 were purchased by first-time, inexperienced campers, first-time owners. Any concern that they'll be leaving the market and getting rid of those RVs and creating a secondary market?
So that was definitely a concern that was talked about, particularly early on in the pandemic, when we did see all of these first-time buyers. But it's something that hasn't really materialized now that we're out of the pandemic. We're not seeing this glut of used inventory hitting dealers' lots. And I will say there's a couple reasons for that. One, we asked people, we've done these surveys of first-time buyers and asked them, why did you buy an RV? And what we found is people bought RVs both in 2020, 21 and 22 for the same reasons people have always bought RVs. It's because they wanted to travel in comfort. It's because they loved road trips. It was because they want to use it as a base camp for outdoor recreation. So people were buying RVs for the same reasons they always had bought RVs. For a lot of people, it just moved up. It was on their radar, and it moved up that purchase decision. There absolutely were people who had never thought about RVing before that also bought, but for a lot of people, it moved up that timeline. For people who were, another area of the industry that has really grown as well is the rental market. And so this is a little bit of my observation, that I think those people who couldn't travel at all, and they're really more cruise and going abroad people, they didn't buy. They went and they rented, and they had awesome experiences, and were like, this is something great, and I'll probably do it again at some point down the road. I'll rent an RV. But the people who bought, on the vast majority, are very happy with their purchases.
So how does that alter the GO RVing Coalition programs to try to make sure that those people stay with RVing?
Great question. So particularly back to, where was GO RVing during the pandemic, was creating First Timers Toolkit, providing resources for people who had never RV'd before, and making sure that they had resources on simple things like how to tow, how to set up your RV, things that, people have to learn. It's not the same as walking into a hotel room. Like there are things you have to learn and be prepared when you go out and go RVing. So GO RVing has put a lot of emphasis there, and that's an area that we are continuing to focus on as we move forward. Is that retention? It's the inspiration, inspiring people to want to go and join the RVing lifestyle, but it's also providing those tools and resources to keep people in the lifestyle once they've joined us.
is there a concern that obviously the last couple of years the RVs were in high demand, the prices went up on a lot of the travel trailers, motorhomes, the RVs. Is there a concern that some of those increased prices is to play into why people aren't trading in their units like maybe they would have if the prices were a little bit lower, I guess, when they bought their unit?
So the interest rates, inflation is not doing us any favors. And so we do see as those level off and people are more comfortable with them, that people who, we're talking about people who bought during the pandemic. That was only 1 to 3 years ago. And so a lot of them just aren't ready to trade in for a new RV. But as those interest rates and inflation level off, and people are ready for that next RV to trade up, that they'll be in a better position to do so.
How about those concerns over campground inventory? I know that we've got, it's hard to match up the huge influx of fresh RVs that we've had coming in with the lack of inventory we're seeing on the campground side. How does RVIA match up the message that people are looking for this big experience and what they come into the industry with, and the reality of searching for a campsite?
That's been something that we've been focused on since before the influx that happened during the pandemic. So even prior to 2020, probably 2018-ish, 17, 18 is when the association really started focusing on campground modernization and expansion. Has been a top priority, top 3, a level 1, if you will, priority for our, in particular, our advocacy team, for years now. And that does a couple tracks. We have been doing a lot with the federal government, the Great American Outdoors Act that passed in August of 2020, that created a ton of money. I think it was like $5 billion to go to modernize campground. It's public lands, but there was money that was specifically going to campgrounds, because we know we did a big campground inventory analysis that came out last year, and it looked at the number of RV campsites that are available, and it's not as many as we need. And more importantly than the number of campsites is also the amenities. It's only like half of the campsites have full or have any hookups. I think on federal lands, it's 8% have sewer hookups. And even on private campgrounds, that number's around 50%. And so it's not just a lack of campsite availability, it's the campsites with the full hookups and the amenities that, in particular, these new RVers want. So on the federal, it's working through our government affairs advocacy team, making sure that both at the federal level and the state level, policymakers know that this is what campers, RVers want on these public lands. When you ask people where they want to go, they buy an RV and they want to go to the public lands. That's where they want to go. And then they're like, wait, okay, maybe I'm going to stay at a private park outside the park, and then go in, because they also want those amenities. And so making it clear to these policymakers that this is what customers want. And by adding those to your campgrounds, you're going to increase revenue for it can pay it back. And it's also working with the private campgrounds. And that's what we've been doing recently as well, to help them with the tools. A woman on our Marcom team recently put together, and it's going to be coming out soon, a great video for campground owners to use at the local level to show why campgrounds are good for the local community. And that's to be used at zoning board meetings and at the local level, that paints a really beautiful picture of what campgrounds can be in a local area. So big priority, and we're working on in a number of different ways on that issue.
Well, we have to take a moment to recognize our sponsor, Bush Tech Safari USA, and we will be right back.
No, ma'am. This is a 5-star establishment. We do not have tents.
Another one.
Another one.
With bespoke modern design, state-of-the-art craftsmanship, and only the finest quality materials, Bushtec Safari manufactures tents that take luxury to the next level. A true combination of 5-star luxury and a 5 billion star experience.
Tents.
Better, best, Bushtec.
Hi, welcome back to WCM's Park Update, sponsored by Bushtec Safari USA, and we are talking with Monika, the spokesperson for the RV Industry Association. I wasn't going to try to say your last name, Monika, because anybody who knows...
Geraci. No,
yeah,
no one gets it right.
Because everybody who watches this show knows how bad I am with last names. So, but we've been talking a little bit about the shipment numbers, about what you guys did on DC, about Go RVing. I guess what types of units are people looking for? I know the towable RVs, I think, are the leading category from month to month. I guess, what do the consumers want when they're looking for an RV?
So, yeah, there are so many different RVs. You all know this, and I'm sure our viewers do as well, that there are so many different types of RVs. There's an RV for every lifestyle and price point out there. Our conventional travel trailers, bumper pull travel trailers, are the largest portion of shipments. But of course, there's a lot of different types and features that can be seen in there. Motorized makes up between 10 to 12% of total shipments. So obviously the vast majority of RV production are towables, whether that's going to be your pop-ups, truck campers fall into that as well. Fifth wheels, are all going to be in that 88 to 90%. So what is really interesting are the Class Bs. So the Class Bs make up a very small portion of shipments, but just 10 years ago, less than 2,000 Class B motorhomes were produced. So in 2012, 2013, there were 1,700. It was like 0.75% of shipments. It was like a rounding error. But when we look at 2022, there were over, I think it was 18,000 Class Bs produced. So again, it's a little shy of 4% of total RV shipments. So still a smaller portion of overall shipments, but that segment is growing the fastest of any. So we know that. You have some thoughts on this, Mike?
No, I was just wondering where we're at on electric RVs, because I know we've got two sides of this. We've got the production of totally electric RVs, and then we've got the pedestal question out there. Where's RVIA at?
So so we've got a few different electric prototypes that are out there. I had the pleasure of actually test driving Winnebago's electric RV at the Harpers Ferry KOA last year. Also got to see KOA is making a lot of advancements in the pedestals. Got to see their electric pedestals that they're installing at parks across the country. So all of these things are in the works. Thor also has 2 prototypes of electric RVs. They've got a motorized, and then they've got the E-Stream, which we had both the Winnebago electric RV as well as the E-Stream, which has a motorized chassis that helps when it's motorized, electric motorized, to help when it is being towed. So that's where the industry is, and these are prototypes. They're not in production yet. And then we know that campgrounds are working on electric infrastructure as well. What our government affairs team is doing, and we will have more information later this month, is there's a big focus on, there was a lot of money that was appropriated last fall to set up electric charging infrastructure across the country. And so what our government affairs team is working on right now with the state governments is to make sure that when this money is going out, and it's, the truck stop companies, Flying J's, Loves, all of those that are getting this money, and they're going to install these charging stations. What we need to make sure is that these charging stations are built to allow RVs. They need to be pull through. We need ones that have double charging, because we also, we talk about, there's prototypes and we're moving towards these electrified RVs. But the fact is, right now, there are electric vehicles that are towing RVs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need this charging infrastructure to be built in a way that, Ford Lightning pulling a travel trailer is able to pull through and doesn't have to uncouple, then go charge, and then go back, or be using 2 charging stations. These need to be designed for our industry because this is a future thing and it's a now thing. So that is something our government affairs team is working on right now to make sure that charging infrastructure and all of that money, that federal money that is going, it's probably really a one-time thing, shot in the arm for this charging infrastructure, doesn't forget about our industry.
Yeah, definitely. Do you feel, 10, 15 years down the road, we're going to be seeing, these electric RVs on the roads in consumers' hands?
I think it's probably sooner than that. I mean, I'm not building the electric RVs, so I don't know what the timeline is exactly, but we've got electric vehicles out there now that are towing. Again, 90% of our industry are towables. So it really is that tow vehicle that are going to be needing to be charged at campgrounds, and that's why the campground electric charging infrastructure is really important, and also on our public lands. And that's a message that we've been making to federal policymakers as well, because 300 miles, I think that's like average-ish for an electric vehicle, and that's great to get you somewhere. And that's where a lot of people go, about 300 miles from home with their RVs, but you got to get home. And so you need to be able to make sure that you can charge your electric vehicle, whether it is the future motorized RVs or today's electric tow vehicles.
Yeah, definitely. The park model segment is kind of, really firing on all cylinders right now. And I know you guys track numbers for that too. I guess, do you guys expect things to continue to increase on the park model side as well?
Yeah, so park models have been a bright spot this year in the shipment numbers. I don't have those numbers in front of me, so I don't know if it's been every month, but they've been up a number of months this year. And what we're seeing is people love park models particularly at campgrounds, and I think campground owners love park models too. And so that is definitely a growing segment of the industry. It's fantastic for my family. Most of my siblings own RVs, but I've got a lot of siblings, but not all of them do. And so being able to go together on a camping trip and have some people stay in a park model and others stay in their RVs, and then of course renting an RV is also an option. So it just allows people go RVing to be with friends and family, and park models are a great way that people who don't necessarily own an RV can still participate in the lifestyle.
How does GO RVing carry that message? Because I know obviously GO RVing is focused on RVing, but a lot of people also are looking at glamping, looking at these unique accommodations. How does GO RVing market that as well as the RVing lifestyle? I guess, how does that incorporate together? Like, you can still have an RV but enjoy these accommodation units too, or bring along family members who don't have an RV, I guess.
Park models are definitely part of GO RVing's advertising. I actually was just looking at an ad yesterday that for an outlet, and the top picture is a park model. So it is part of our advertising, is to talk about park models in addition to your traditional RVs.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, glamping has definitely exploded, and I know a lot of people like to do that. I haven't been to a glamping tent. Have you ever been in a glamping tent, Monika?
I haven't been in one. I think, it's been a few years now. I was, 2020, I was one of those people. So I don't own an RV. I don't know if you know this, I have access to some RVs.
Okay.
I also can't pick a favorite. It's like a favorite child. I love them all. But so I was one of those people, June 2020. I'm like, I gotta get out of the house. like these children. My children were much younger than pre-K and kindergarten.
Yeah.
Let's go. We went to a KOA on Chesapeake Bay. It was amazing. So much fun. And they had the glamping tents there.
Yeah.
So I was like checking them out. I haven't stayed in one, but I think that's one of the only campgrounds I've been to recently that had them there, but they looked really cool. And I think that's a great way to get people into the industry and into the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Again, it's a low barrier of entry. And then after doing that 1, 2, maybe a few times, they hopefully will move into the RVing lifestyle as well.
Yeah, I think there's also a segment of people, like when we talk to full-timers, that, they like the RV. Obviously, if you're a full-time RVer, you like your RV. So they like the RV, but like sometimes they're just enjoy pulling and maybe staying in a unique accommodation unit, especially like some of these really unique ones like the Conestoga wagons, the glamping domes. They got teepees, like mirror cabins now. I don't know where they like. And then we saw one at the glamping show last year that looks like something from Fred Flintstone, like a rock structure. So, I mean, I think all those are interesting. So even like avid RVers just love pulling along and staying in those, and it's a lifestyle thing. So definitely interesting. So I don't know what happened to Mike. He must have got tired of looking at my face, so he just was like, I'm out. So he just left.
He's like, I'm done.
But I think, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover for the show. It's been great catching up with you, Monika, and just kind of dissecting some things. And you're always a wealth of information. So are you going to be at Open House this year in Elkhart?
I will be. We are going to be bringing some. So we did this for the first time last year. We had a SMT satellite media tour. We had we did some local TV and some national TV live hits, talking about some of the latest and greatest features and RVs that were being released.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing that again this year. So again, some positive press for the RV industry at Open House.
Yeah, and that's a great RV industry event in Elkhart. I always look forward to it. A lot of dealers and a lot of good stuff happening. So hopefully I'll see you there. And thanks to our sponsor, Bush Tech Safari USA. And thanks to everyone for watching. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to WCM's Park Update, a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for daily news and updates, and subscribe to our news feed on our website at woodallscm.com. Show hosts are Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. Executive producers Rick Kessler and Alex Burkett. Copyright 2022, G&G Media Group.